Talk Radio Europe.
Friday Sports Bar with Dom Aldworth.
Well, good evening and welcome back to the show. On the line now from Madrid, 7 times Grand Slam winner, former world number one. He was inducted into the Tennis Hall of Fame in 2002. Mats Wilander. Before we bring him on, just have a little listen to this.
Probably the toughest mental player that I ever played, and that's saying something. I mean, I played guys by the name of Bjorn Borg, Jimmy Connors, even guys at the end of my career, Agassi and Sampras. But this guy, Mats Wilander, really used it up here, and I'm proud to say that we were part of history when the two of us went out there playing for our respective countries and stayed out there just a mere 6.5 hours.
Mats Wilander, good evening. Welcome to the show. What a fitting tribute from a certain John McEnroe.
Yeah, well, I still remember that match. He didn't mention that he happened to win that match, but I was lucky enough to grow up and play in a great era with a lot of great champions.
Mats, it's fantastic to have you on the show. Thanks for talking to us. You're up in Madrid this weekend. Tell us what you're doing with yourself up there.
Well, I'm here at the Mutua Madrid Open, big tennis tournament with the best Rafael Nadal, Roger Federer, and the Caroline Wozniacki and Maria Sharapova. So it's a combined event. I'm working for Eurosport and doing some interviews and some TV stuff.
Well, fantastic. It's only a little brief visit for you. Mats, one of the things that we wanted to talk to you, I certainly wanted to talk to you, you've got this great concept going in the States with your business partner, Cameron Lickel. It's called the WOW Experience. Wilander on Wheels. Tell us about that.
Well, it's we're actually traveling around so far only the United States and Canada, but we're traveling around in a Winnebago or a motorhome, and we're teaching tennis. I wanted to take the whole tennis fantasy experience. There's 2 people. I used to do it where people get on a plane and you go to some fancy hotel in Hawaii or even in Marbella, but it costs money and people can't afford most of it. So we go to their clubs or to their private courts, and we conduct very exclusive clinics for very affordable prices. So it's a fun thing. I love camping and I love teaching tennis. So I've have both of the best of both worlds right now. It's great.
And it does look very fun. You've got a fantastic website, www.wilanderonwheels.com. There's lots of good video of you and Cameron on the road. Cameron, of course, Mats, you're very famous around the world, through your achievements on the tennis courts, former world number one, 7 times Grand Slam winner. Tell us a little bit about Cameron's background and how he came to work with you.
Well, Cameron Lickel is actually went through the Naval Academy, went to the war down out in the Gulf for a couple of years. He's a nuclear engineer, and he decided at some crazy night in the Gulf where something bad happened aboard one of the ships. He decided that he didn't want to die, and he wants to pursue his dream of playing professional tennis. So he started playing tennis seriously. Played number 1 for the Navy, and then I met him in Sun Valley, Idaho one day, and we hit some balls, and I told him about my idea, and he was game. So he's basically the brains behind the operation, and I'm the guy out there just having fun.
And I think most people that spent as much time together in a camper van as you guys do would probably end up killing each other, but you seem to have a real nice understanding and a lot of fun together.
Yeah, we do have a lot of fun together, but I think still it's the reward of the whole expedition is really going to people's home clubs and playing tennis with people where they're comfortable, where they can do a clinic together with their kids or together with their spouse, or they bring their family to videotape it, and they might even win a point against me, and then they can put that on YouTube and they can throw it out on their mobile phone. So the reward again is people's excitement and enthusiasm after that they realize that I'm just out there, or we're just out there having fun, trying to have people have more fun and help them with their tennis. And we're on the first name basis after 5 minutes, and basically you become friends, because traveling around the world, I've met a lot of people, but I haven't made a lot of friends, because you're a tennis player and you meet fans. But they're not really fans; they're just tennis fanatics, and they realize that the top players in the past are normal human beings, and we actually have a passion for the sport, and I love to spread that around.
Mats, it's also got a slightly deeper meaning, Wilander on Wheels. You guys have got an affiliation with Deborah, which is an organisation that leads the way in finding a cure for a very rare disease that your young son Eric suffers from, called EB. Tell us what EB is all about, and how's that affected Eric and your family and your way of life?
Well, EB is short for epidermal bullosa, which is a genetic disease, and it affects your skin. And my son Eric, I have 4 kids actually, but one of my kids, Eric, is 13 years old, and he suffers from getting really bad blistering on any body part where there's friction, so mainly on their feet. And it's actually so bad that he can't do anything in the summer. No sports. He can walk around a little bit, but not too much. So basically he has had to alter his lifestyle. We moved to Idaho up in the cold and dry climate, and he's able to play ice hockey in the winter. So he is fine. It's a very rare disease. There's about 35,000 people in America that have it, and it's hard to get funding for it. Insurance companies don't cover diseases where prevention is the only, not cure, but the only help. So we're trying to help out families and trying to find a cure for it, but the cure is far away, but helping families out financially is really what we're about.
Well, we sincerely wish you well in your efforts with Deborah to try and find a cure for this, Mats. Mats, I see Wilander on Wheels is coming to Europe, although just temporary, during the French Open, which is pretty much like going to home for you because you've won the tournament 3 times. Have you got any thoughts of maybe doing a more permanent program throughout Europe during the summer?
Not this year, most probably, but yeah, in the future we'd like to go around the whole world and do it. We might have to buy a Winnebago or a house mobile in Europe as well, so we can drive it around, because that's really the meat of the operation, is to be able to. I've seen the world from the air, and I now want to see the world from the roads, and I want to go to the small cities and the small tennis clubs, and you need wheels for that. But yes, we're definitely trying to expand, and we're not really sure where it takes. It's kind of like my tennis career. You don't play tennis to win Grand Slams. You play tennis because you're passionate about the sport and you want to improve. And this Wilander on Wheels business is pretty much the same thing. We take every day as it comes, and it keeps growing. And I'm not really sure what the end result is supposed to look like, and nor do I want to find out.
Well, hopefully, if you do make a decision to come to Europe, Mats, you bear us in mind. Down here in Marbella, Manolo Santana is our famous tennis star that lives down here. He's got his own tennis club, and there's lots of tennis fans down here that would love to see you. So hopefully you'll bear us in mind. Mats, just a little bit about your career itself. I mean, former world number 1, 33 career titles, 7 Grand Slam titles in there. There's no Wimbledon on that CV, but I think a lot of people have seemed to have forgotten that when they don't see that on your CV, it suggests you're not a very good player on the surface of grass. However, 2 of your 3 Australian Opens actually came on grass, so it suggests you can play on that surface. Why did you never win Wimbledon? What do you put that down to?
I think that first of all, I'm definitely not a grass court specialist in the old days where you had to serve and volley. The reason I did well in Australia is because we had a chance to go and prepare there for about a month on grass before. As most tennis people know, Wimbledon comes pretty much straight after the French Open, and I did really well at the French Open, and that's on very slow clay courts, and then you only give yourself about 10 days to prepare for a very fast surface at Wimbledon in the 80s. So you had to change the way you play, and I think the difference today is Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer can go to Wimbledon and play pretty much the same game they did at the French Open, except the balance is lower. So the differences are bigger, but again, no, I'm not a natural serve and volley, and it was tough for me to make that change in that short a time. I did win Wimbledon, on the other hand, with my best friend Joachim Nyström in doubles, and to be honest, I wouldn't change that victory for a singles victory, because at least as a tennis player, I have a memory that I can share, or victory I can share with somebody else, because it's a lonely sport.
Well, it certainly is. And but Mats, 1988 was certainly the pinnacle of your career. I mean, you ended Ivan Lendl's 3-year reign at the top of the world rankings. You won 3 out of the 4 slams. I mean, tremendous. You beat Pat Cash in his own backyard in Australia. Another local favourite, Henri Leconte, you defeated in the French Open in Paris. And of course, that superb match against Ivan Lendl in the US Open. I mean, which one of those 3 slams in '88 was probably your most satisfying?
You know, it's hard to compare beating Pat Cash in Australia in 5 sets on Australia Day. They were turning 200 years old, the country, and everybody was against me. Obviously, that was a tough match to actually win, because I would like to see Pat Cash, who's a good friend of mine, win that at home. Ivan Lendl, on the other hand, at the U.S. Open, I lived about 45 minutes away. I had my mom and dad there for the first time in America. I had all my friends seeing, so I think that was more special. Plus, it gave me the #1 ranking in the world, but again, that's all part of it's part of the past. I'm not here working for Eurosport because of my past. I'm here. I love the sport. I'm still learning, and I am new at this game right now. So it's not like you can dig up the past and enjoy it. It's part of the past, and right now I'm just enjoying the game. It's in a great state right now.
Mats, I've got a gentleman in the studio here who's been involved in sport for most of his life, at the highest level as well. He'd like to ask you a question. It's John.
I'm Matt.
Hey, John.
John Smith. One of the clients that I represent is a guy called Freddie Ljungberg, and I spoke to him this morning and told him I'd be on a radio program which I'd be sharing a platform with you later this evening, and he wanted to give you a big hug, said he enjoyed dinner with you in London some time ago, and that you were a super pro and a good bloke. So consider yourself hugged by Freddie.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I'll give Freddie my best, very much.
Of course I will. Listen, the other thing is just, it's got to be worth it. I love this project that you're doing. It's got to be worth you contacting the British Tennis Association, Roger Draper and his crew, because something like this would go down, I think, very well in Great Britain. And as I understand it, Mick Jagger's probably got a spare Winnebago hanging around from some of his tours, so you could couple the two up together.
That sounds great, John. You know, I think what I would like to see out of this whole Wilander on Wheels traveling to clubs as a former professional, as a former world #1, I would like to see, a former athlete do that in every sport, because I think there's a lot of small countryside clubs. They don't have a chance. They don't have a big team. They don't get a chance to see live professional football or ice hockey, whatever it may be, or even meet former stars. So their dream to become a professional player it's hard to catch, really. So I think that every sport should have somebody out there promoting the sport, but also giving the kids something to touch when it comes to professional athletes.
Oh, you're absolutely right, because that is the sport's future.
Mats, this is Rob in the studio as well, Rob Picalla. You came from a really great era of tennis players, especially in the sort of men's section. Which, in your opinion, of the people you played in your era was the best player, in your opinion, other than yourself, of course?
Well, it's a little bit hard to say. I did play Pete Sampras and Andre Agassi towards the end of my career, and I think I got beaten the worst by Andre Agassi. Granted, he was #1 or 2 in the world at the time, and I was sort of around 30, 40 in the world. But I think once I played Agassi and Sampras, the game had really changed, and they were hitting the ball much harder. So it's hard to compare. In my day, the guy that could play the best on a given day, I think, was John McEnroe. He could make you feel foolish, look foolish, and if you didn't play well, he'll get at you. But then again, Jimmy Connors is a great competitor. I've only played Bjorn Borg once on the tour, and he threw 2 games at me because he's a nice guy. So, I'm very fortunate. I play with all the best players. But again, I've watched Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer play, and even hit with Nadal, and up close, those guys are unbelievable, and I don't think anyone could touch them and not even be close to them.
Dom here again, Matt. The French Open, a tournament, like I've said earlier, you've won on 3 occasions. You're going to be there. It's in about 3 weeks' time. I mean, Rafael Nadal's form on clay, it continues. The Monte Carlo Masters, he won against David Ferrer. A repeat of that final again at Barcelona the week after. Can you see anybody beating Rafael Nadal on the surface?
I can't really. I can possibly see somebody like Robin Söderling, who beat Nadal a couple of years ago at the French Open. Potentially Juan Martín del Potro, the Argentinian, who won the U.S. Open a couple of years ago. And because he won the U.S. Open, he beat Nadal. He beat Roger Federer in the final, so he's done it before. But again, on clay, it's not like Nadal is that good right now on clay. He's always going to be that good. As long as he wants to win, he's going to be hard to beat. But But I'm a little bit surprised that guys don't push him a little bit harder, and that they don't believe a little bit more in themselves when they play against him. But again, he's most probably the greatest clay court player of all time, and I would love to see him win a sixth actually French Open title, because he's a great guy, not only a great player.
Novak Djokovic has had a great start to the year. He's still unbeaten, I think 27, 28 matches thus far. Clay is not his favourite surface. But do you think with his confident start to the season that he might start producing some better form and maybe challenge Nadal at the French Open on clay?
I do. I think that, he's going to get there as seeded number 2. So he's going to have to play Nadal in a potential final. And I think it's easier to play Nadal in the final because there's no tomorrow. You don't have to worry about how tired you get. But at the same time, 3 out of 5 sets is the problem for Novak Djokovic against Rafael Nadal on any surface. He's beaten Nadal now twice in a row in America on hard courts. But that's 2 out of 3 sets, and that's sort of running half a marathon. And Nadal runs much faster in a full marathon, and Novak Djokovic so far in his career hasn't. So I think he might believe he has a chance against Nadal, but I don't know. I think they're worried about winning games, not winning matches against him on clay.
Matt, spoken as eloquently as you do on Eurosport. Listen, thanks so much for talking to us today. It's been a great pleasure to talk. You've been a great champion. Have a great time up in Madrid. Best of luck with Wilander on wheels, and best of health to your son as well, Matt. And hopefully we can have a chat to you again in the future. Looking forward to that. Thanks again for talking to us.
All right, guys. Thank you very much.